Hi, this is lesson number 42 from our Photoshop training series. In this exercise, we are going to learn about gradient tool in Photoshop. Here in my screen, I have square document, and in our toolbox, here we have gradient tool. Previously, we used gradient tool, but this time we will learn a little bit more in depth. Gradient tool is selected, and at the top here in the property, we can see the basic gradient. If I will click on this small drop down, the basic gradient is selected, and in new version of Photoshop, the gradient is organized by folder. I can click on this small arrowhead and expand the gradient. Here we have blue, pink. So this is how we have different gradient preset organized by color. The basic gradient comes from the foreground and background color. The first one is selected. And if I will close this here, you can see our foreground and background color is black and white. So this is the color we have in our basic gradient. If I want, I can change here. Let's say red, and the background yellow. So our gradient has been changed. In front of the color, here we have different gradient mode: linear, radial, angle, reflected, and diamond. Let's try the first one. If I will click in our layer palette, here we have a background layer. If I will click and drag, this way I can place the gradient. You can maintain straight by pressing Shift key. So this is how simple it is. Radial gradient from center, if I will click and drag, this is how the yellow color is having a radius. To expand this radius, we can click and drag far. So this is how we can change. The third one is angle. In angle gradient, we have a sharp edge. The red color is traveling from the edge and turning to yellow, end up with the second color. This edge we can customize. You will understand this once we will edit the gradient. The fourth one is reflected. From the center point, it will reflect to the other side. Now the way we have gradient from left, same way it is reflected to the right. The last one is diamond. Click and drag. So this is how we have diamond gradient. If I will click here, you can see in the basic, the first one is solid and second one is transparent. This way, if we want, we can add transparency here also. To add the transparency, we need to click here. And now gradient editor is open. These lower nodes used to change the color, and on the top here we can control the opacity. Let's say I want to make transparent the red side, so I can click here, reduce the opacity to 0, and then click OK. This time, if I will click and drag, I can add multiple diamond since the red is transparent. Now these diamonds are part of the background. If we want to see the transparency, we can add in the new layer. This is my new layer, and this time if I will click and drag, now these three diamonds are in the new layer. Let's turn off the background, and now you can see the transparency. So this way we can add the transparency on different nodes. Let's go back. Once again 100%. If we want, we can customize also from these nodes. By pressing Alt key, we can duplicate the color. Click and drag. So here we have once again red. Here we can change the color. You can click, and using eyedropper from our canvas, even we can choose the color. Now the second node is yellow. Let's duplicate the first node, that is red, by pressing Alt key, click and drag. This time yellow, press Alt key, click and drag. Alt key, click and drag, click OK. Let's choose the linear gradient and click and drag. Now this gradient is placed on the new layer. Let's try the angle. That is beautiful gradient, but in the end once again we have sharp edge. How to avoid this? Let's add it once again. As you can see, the first color is red and the last color is yellow. If we will maintain the first and the last color same, this edge, sharp edge, it will disappear. So once again we are going to duplicate the yellow node. Alt key, click and drag. Here we have yellow, and the last point we can fill with the red. Click OK. So the first color and the last color is red. And here another thing you can observe, there is a small diamond in between two gradient. That is to add the smoothness and sharpness from both sides this way. Click OK. This time if we will click and drag, since the first and last color is same, so we have very smooth transition in between two color. Now this is custom gradient and it is not a part of our gradient preset. And once we will close the Photoshop, this gradient, it will disappear. If we want, we can save permanently, and even we can organize our own custom gradient by folder this way. So how to save? It is simple. Click on the gradient, simply give the name, let's say red, yellow, and then click on new. It is added here. Click OK. Now this new custom gradient is a part of our default gradient. Here we have, if we want, we can click and drag and place in our basic gradient, or wherever we want we can save. Another thing we can do, we can also create our own folder and save custom gradient in one place. To do that, we can right click on any folder and click here new gradient group. We can name my gradient and then click OK. So now this group is added here. Simply click and drag, and now it is part of my gradient. From this small arrow we can close and open. Let's try to create another custom gradient. I can click here, and this time we are going to choose noise gradient. Here we have a gradient type, that is solid. If I will click here and choose noise, here we have color mode, hue, saturation, brightness, RGB, and we have lab. And here we have different color variation by RGB we can change. And here we can randomize. Look at this. Sharpness, using roundness you can make it more sharp. You can click multiple times on the randomize to get the different gradient noise variations this way. Let's say this is my noise gradient and I am going to save it. I can just give the name new, then click OK. Now here we have our new gradient. Let's save in my gradient, and here we have two custom gradient. This is noise gradient, it is selected. In this layer, if I want, I can place, let's choose the linear, click and drag. This is our custom gradient folder. If we want, we can save this preset, and even in the other computer on different project we can use. To do that, we need to export this folder, right click, and here we have export selected gradient. On the desktop I am in the new folder, and here I can give name my gradient, then click on save. Now this custom gradient folder, it is saved, and even if we will delete from here, we can import back again. Let's try delete this group. If we want to bring it back again, we can right click, import gradient, and it is here. And from this location, if you want, you can copy and save in your flash memory. You can transfer to the other computer, and on different project this gradient also you can use. Same way you will import. So if I will click now, I can load, and once again here we have my gradient. If I will open, sometime it's creating subfolder, but it is fine. You can click and drag it up this way. Here we have gradient, and this folder we can just delete. This how we can customize the gradient. We can save custom gradient, export, and then we can import in Photoshop. And same gradient preset you can send by email, or you can save in your flash memory and use in the other computer on different project. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you like this video, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and click on the bell notification so you will be notified every time I upload new video. Thank you.